Hi everyone, welcome to today's video. We're gonna look at the realistic sales update for Nio through about 2025. You can see again in the white bars which are 2025 numbers. I update them on a weekly basis, and with the latest insurance registration numbers, to be honest, the June numbers doesn't look that great. I'm not sure what's happening. All that being said, it's not something that is unique to Nio. You can see that, for example, Nio delivered 4,300 cars. Xpeng actually delivered lower, 4,190. So this past week, for some reason, it was obviously down a little bit. So let's not take too large conclusions. But I have Nio month to date roughly at around 5,200 cars, and I just assumed around 850, which was from the 1st of June, and then the rest from this past week, which is week 23. So currently in June we are around just about 5,000 deliveries. Still only the first 8 days, so there's still quite a long time left until the end of the month. Before we look at the specifics again, look at the lithium carbonate, still hovering around these very lows, around 60,000, so that's good to see. Still good for the margins in the long term. The stock price currently, it was a while since we looked at it. We can see that today was a great day for Nio, almost 6% up, but still over the long term we are well below $4, which is kind of not great, I would say. So going for the target of the number of cars sold for 2025, we can start with this document here from this article by December 12 of last year, where CEO William Lee had this ambitious plan of doubling the vehicle sales from the 2024's 220,000 to 440,000. If I was to be the CEO of Nio, I would stop giving these like outlandish targets, because they've been doing this for a long time, and I think this is now starting to become kind of just not serious anymore. So 440,000 cars, is that realistic with the numbers that we have currently? And the simple answer is no. So let's look at the graph here. You can see that with the actual numbers until May. So currently Nio sits at around 89,000 deliveries from January to May. Let's say we have another 25,000 in June. That will put us at around 110 to 115,000 deliveries in the first half of the year. In order to reach those 440,000 deliveries, obviously we need to have around 300,000 deliveries in the second half of the year, right? So in 6 months they need to deliver 300,000 cars. Is that possible? They would need then to average 50,000 cars already from June. Will Nio get 50,000 deliveries from June onwards until the end of the year? And the simple answer is probably absolutely not. Currently, I'm targeting Nio to have 25,000 sales, which is a revision down yet again. I've revised this number down on multiple occasions throughout this year. The latest time was obviously today, because the low numbers of the week 23, which we just got earlier this morning, I would say that 25,000 is more realistic number. Is this numbers good enough? In my opinion, no. Remember that a lot of these sales will continue to come from the lower margin cars, i.e. Onvo and Firefly. Whereas previously, if you go back to last year, essentially every single delivery used to be from the classic Nio with much higher margin than Onvo and Firefly. So Onvo and Firefly to some extent are cannibalizing on Nio's traditional sales, which was higher margin, and the absolute number of cars doesn't go up as much as we want them currently. So we are in a very difficult spot, especially knowing that financially the company is struggling quite a lot. Now again, on the last earnings they mentioned all this about cutting cost, and they actually did it in terms of R&D budget, 60 million if I recall correctly, since compared to Q1 to Q4 of last year. So there are some good things happening. The main question is it a little bit too late? And will the sales numbers pick up? This is the most important thing right now, in my opinion, because I would have assumed that a lot of you were expected that Nio would be at least delivering 25 to 30,000 cars every single month now, and we are not at that stage. And this is a miscalculation, in my opinion. Remember, currently with the expected, I mean, look at my graph, right? Look at the white bars. June 25,000, assuming that we have a strong July, August and so on and so forth, we would be at almost 40,000 on average and 45,000 in December, right? That would put us at around 346,000 deliveries for the entire year, which is a full 100,000 less than the ambitious target from the CEO. just by end of last year. And this is, yet again another case, another example of the management and the CEO just promising stuff or putting outlandish targets and then fall short, well short of those targets. And this is a continuous problem with Nio, and they need to stop doing this. I mean, if you're not sure about your sales expectations, for the love of God, at least don't give these outlandish targets. At least, be somewhat more realistic. Like if you sold 200,000 cars in 2024, which is actually really good. I mean, no one should be shy away from that number. That is actually a real good delivery from Nio. Like, because in 23 they had 160,000, in 24 they had 220,000. That's like 80,000 up. That's like 50% year over year sales increase, number of car sales. So, I mean, who could not be happy about that? But why then do you bother to give this outlandish target, force all the investors to, look at it with a fresh view of going essentially 2x in your sales in one single year, and halfway through the year you already see that they are nowhere near that level. I mean, again, in order to reach those 440,000 deliveries, they need to hit 50,000 sales already from June. And I mean, my own target, which is probably not the most negative one out there, my own target, which is somewhat bullish, is still going at half of that needed number. So they are way off target, and they need to do something now. And my big question is, like, what are your point of view? Why is Nio struggling to increase their sales? Like, what is the problem here? Is it that the other two smaller brands, Onvo and Firefly, are cannibalizing? Is the competition too high? I understand that some weeks Xpeng is struggling as well. For example, this past week, obviously, Xpeng sold less cars than Nio, at least the Chinese insurance registration numbers. And we know that Xpeng average sales price is much lower than Nio. So there's some argument for that. But again, don't look on a single week, right? Let's look at the entire year, or let's say year to date. And how many cars have Xpeng sold currently? Let's update that number, including the May deliveries. So let's see. So Xpeng has delivered 162,000 cars, Nio has delivered 89,000 cars. And Xpeng is doing that with much fewer models than Nio is doing. I mean, Nio is at like 14, 15 models soon by end of the year. I don't think Xpeng has even like 7 models. I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comment section, please. But yeah, I think Xpeng is like outselling Nio by 2x. So there's also that kind of reality check that we have to obviously consider. But in any case, I think we need to revise down our expectations. A lot of you probably already done that. But yeah, I just thought maybe talk about the expected delivery numbers of 2025. And I'm gonna settle currently with the data at hand at around 340 to 350,000. The same kind of pattern as last year. Like they don't reach their like hopium target, but they still increase. Like, let's be frank here. If they increase now to 340 to 350,000 from last year's of 220, that's not the problem. The problem is not the increase in sales. I mean, again, there's another 40 to 50% increase year over year yet again. So that is absolutely not a problem. The problem has always been, how do they monetize this revenue? And they have like huge problem. They have historic problems in actually to be able to do that. And looking at the competition as well, I would say that I'm a little bit worried for the likes of Tesla. We can see that I've followed Troy Tesla and his own estimations, which I think is one of the most accurate on the market. He's expecting Tesla to have 1.64 million in 2025 deliveries. And I think my updated numbers a few weeks back for Tesla was currently at 1.6 million. You can see there, 1.6 million. So Tesla is also stagnating, actually, at least when it comes to the car sales. Now you could argue, FSD and so on and so forth, but come on, guys. Surely no one here believes that Tesla is gonna have the only functioning self-driving technique out there. And also, is it even possible that they're gonna reach that target? Remember that Tesla is relying only on camera, whereas, for example, Nio, I've been criticizing them a lot over the past 18 months, but at least they're investing in lidars and in radars. And again, I do believe that radars will be much more viable option out there, but also lidars as well will also come down in cost. And I personally wouldn't invest, 50,000 euros or $50,000 in a car that only relies on a camera. I would like to have that redundancy, and I think most of the manufacturers are going that way. And I have a hard time believing that Tesla will show this outrageously good self-driving with only based on camera. I think there are too many drawbacks with that only relying on image. But in any case, that was the update for today. I think Tesla is, in my opinion, just way too overvalued. Let's be honest about it. Like, look at the market cap of Tesla, $1 trillion US. In that regard, I mean, Nio is like dirt cheap, right? But then again, it's different companies, different outlooks, and although Tesla is starting to lose quite some margins, there's other potentials with Tesla, whereas Nio is struggling in other ways, so it's not apples to apples. I actually still like Xpeng. Maybe I should do a more detailed video on Xpeng also. But anyways, thanks for your time. Please like and subscribe and comment in the comment section. Do you believe that Nio will reach that 400,000, 440,000 cars sales this year, or will they coming closer to 300 to 350? So anyways, thanks for your time and see you in the next one.